Here's our lesson, more with normal distributions. We're going to go in normal distributions. A standard normal table. There's a table that will be provided to you on the SOL. You can be asked the question, what's the probability that your z-score is less than 0.12? Anytime you're looking at this table, your mean is 0 and your standard deviation is 1. So we're going to look at the numbers in the table. These are your probabilities, your point this and point that. Those are your probabilities. So we're looking for 0.12. If you look at the chart here below, 0.12 is a little to the left of 0. So we're going to shade to the left of 0.12. That correlates with a percentage of the graph that is shaded. So on the z-score table, we will go to 0.1, which is our 10th place from the first actual column. Then we're going to go across to the rows to find our 100th place, which is 0.02. We're going to see where they intersect, and it's 0.5478. So this is 54, let's round 55% of the graph is shaded. And as you can see, it's a little to the right of 0. So this is how you would use the table. And this is how you would use your calculator. Same question, what's the probability that z is less than or equal to 0.12? Find the second vars. We're actually looking for the distribution button, which you have to push second to be able to get it. What's going to come up is a list, and I need you to look for normal CDF. These are going to be regions, lower region to upper region. Since we are shading from the far left all the way up to 0.12, our lower region is going to be negative infinity, negative 99999. Our upper is going to be 0.12. You always put the standard deviation, which is 0. Excuse me, the mean, which is 0, and the standard deviation, which is 1. Okay. When you hit enter, it's going to show you 0.547, turn it into a percentage, and it is 54.78%. Second question, the scores on an IQ test have a mean of 110 and a standard deviation of 25. I set it up on my chart, my graph. The question is, what percent have scores that are under 120? I'll go ahead and put 120 on my graph, and I shade to the left because of the word under. I'm going to do this using my TI calculator, second vars, again, the distribution. We're going to look for normal CDF. What do you think our left bound is? The lower part of what we need to put in. Well, we're shading far left, and it continues and continues, so we say that's negative infinity, especially if you look at this as a number line. We're going up to 120. The mean that's given now is 110. Standard deviation is 25. Hit enter, you'll get 0.655. Change it into a percentage. 65.5% of IQs are under 120. What percent have scores that are over 150? Let's go ahead and make a graph. Same graph. We're going to label 150, but which way do we shade? We shade to the right. So we're going to get our calculator out and go second vars, normal CDF. And our lower is 150, and we're going to positive infinity, so we'll put 9999999. Same mean and same standard deviation. What percent have scores over 150? 5.5%. Next question, a little different. What score would fall at the 90th percentile? So now we want the actual score. So a percentile has the given percentage below it. So if you're in the 90th percentile, we're talking about everything that's below that point. This time we are going to go to second vars, inverse norm. This is where we're going to go if we're given the decimal. That correlates to the area. We write it as a decimal, 0.90. Go ahead and put in the mean and the standard deviation. Voila, hit enter. It shows you a score of about 142 would be at the 90th percentile. What IQ is the cutoff for the top 1%? Ooh. Here we graphed it so we have an idea of what we're working with. It's always a good idea to graph. Because we're given the decimal, the percent, the area, the probability, we're going to use second vars, inverse norm. We're going to put 0.99 because that's the section that's to the left of 1%. Mean 110. Standard deviation is 25. We find out that a score of 168 would be in the 99th percentile.